Hey, welcome to Mirrorverse Education. Today, we're looking at modeling two-step equations in the form px plus q equals r. So, let's go. Katiana is trying to read 1,000 pages for a reward from her school. She's already read 440, but she only has 7 days left in order to get this reward. So how many pages per day is she going to have to read in order to get this reward? Okay, well, let's figure out what don't we know and what do we know. We know there's some number of pages that she needs to read. Let's call that P. Okay, I could use any letter I wanted to. It really doesn't matter. I could use N or D or L or Q or Z, but they all represent the same thing, which is the number of pages. All right, so let's model this out. We have 7 days of reading, so the number of pages per day, same amount of pages, and we have the 440 that she's already read. Okay, that just combines how much overall reading there is that's being done. We know overall that goal is 1,000. So we don't want all that amount of reading to be 1,000. So, how can we figure out how many pages per day? Well, let's figure out how many more pages she needs to read. Well, she's already read 440. That means 1,000 minus that 440. There's 560 pages left to read in order to get that reward. And if we're going to split that up into 7 parts, well, 560 divided by 7, that's 80. So we got 80 pages per night for her to read in order to get that reward. Let's look at this a little bit more algebraically. We have 440 she's already read, plus the 7 days times the number of pages she's going to read per day. And want that to be a total of 1,000 pages. Okay. So we got to solve for P. Get that P by itself. So let's get rid of that 440. And we do that by, well, making it 0. So we're going to subtract 440. But we're working with an equation here. And the equation is saying that both sides are the same. Because they're equal. They're the same. So if I'm subtracting 440 from on the left side, I got to subtract 440 from the right side. And a lot of times I put this bar here just to remind myself that, hey, both sides are the same. And it also gives me a spot to put the equal sign just to make things organized. Anyways, 440 minus 440 is 0, and 1,000 minus 440 is 560. And now I'm just going to rewrite all that I know still, all that I have. On the left side, I still have positive 7p. I know it's positive because above it is plus, so positive, get it? Plus, positive. Anyways, the right side, I have 560 left over. So I have 7 times p equals 560. So saying 7 times what is 560. If you're not sure, then let's do the inverse operation to get rid of that 7. Because again, we're trying to get that p by itself. So the opposite or inverse operation of times 7 is divide by 7. So I'm going to divide both sides by 7. Because again, they're equal, so do to both sides, the same thing. And then 7 divided by 7 is 1. 1 times p is p. And 560 divided by 7 is 80. So Katiana would need to read 80 pages per night in order to reach her reward or her goal, or however you want to say that. So let's go check out another example. Before we do, if you're hoping just to write equations or solve equations, then check out our other videos on writing equations or solving equations. So let's go to the next example. Alright, we have a car lot that has 122 vehicles to sell. Every day, the car lot sells 8 cars. After how many days will the car lot have 74 vehicles remaining? Okay, well, what we're trying to figure out is the number of days. So let's use D for days. Or use N or L or J or K. It really doesn't matter. They all represent the same thing, which is the number of days. Okay, so let's do a little model here. We know that we have 122 cars on this lot. We know that there's 8 cars per day. Or there's 8 cars per day, and there's trying to figure out when are there going to be 74 cars remaining. So how much do we have to take away in order to get to that 74? Well, let's do 122, subtract that 74, and that's going to leave us with 48 remaining, because 48 and 74 make 122. All right, and if we do 8 cars per day, that means we're going to be splitting that 48 into 8 parts. So each part is going to be 6. So 6 cars per day. Let's go look at this a little bit more algebraically. with 122 minus 8 cars per day times the number of days equals 74. So to solve this, first thing I want to do is I'm going to get rid of 122. Yes, you can try to get rid of that, subtract 8, that negative 8 first. It gets messy, so I'm just going to get rid of that 122 first. I'll do it by subtracting 122. And remember, we're working with an equation here. Equation means equal. So both sides of the equal sign are the same. I usually draw this line here just to remind myself that, hey, the left side is the same as the right side. They're equal. So I'm going to subtract 122 from one side. I'm going to subtract 122 from the other side. 122 minus 122 is 0. And 74 minus 122 is negative 48. That's okay. Let's write down what we have now. Just rewrite what we have so we don't get all crazy lost up there. I have negative 8d. I know it's negative because it was subtract 8d. Subtract and negative are the same thing. So we have negative 8d or negative 8 times d equals negative 48. So we're trying to figure out negative 8 times what is negative 48. And if you're not sure, then we'll do the inverse operation. That's negative 8 times. So that inverse opposite operation is to divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 8. Negative 8 divided by negative 8 is 1. 1 times d is d. And the negative 48 divided by negative 8 is 6. So now we can say that the car lot would have 74 vehicles remaining after 6 days. There we go. Alright, so if you enjoyed this or want to see more examples like this or see some walkthroughs that are dealing with the same issues, then visit us at mirrorverseed.com. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Adios.